Let's see. All right, and we're live. Okay, it is Friday, December 20th, 2024 at 5:16 p.m. Sorry for the tardiness here. I was just about to start streaming when I saw that I could take care of filming basically the last thing I need to film for the upcoming Mothman lore video. Mothman cult lore video, I should say. And it's the Beast of Burden event down here. Actually, there's one other thing I gotta film, but regardless, this was basically the second to last thing I needed to film. Now, unfortunately, I did not complete the event successfully. If you have not participated in this event before, it takes place down here in the Sacramento Glade. Down here in the southeastern Cranberry Glade, or Cranberry Bog. This used to be the Cranberry Glade. Effectively, you've got a member of the Blue Ridge Caravan Company who's hanging out here when you show up, and he has realized that he accidentally sold a bunch of explosives to the cultists, and then they kidnapped his cow, his Brahmin, which is the Mona Lisa, I believe is what they call her. So anyway, you have to come in here, reclaim the explosives, blow the doors off of the containers holding cargo, and then free the Brahmin. And then basically what you do as soon as you do that is you've got to start loading the Brahmin up with cargo. You have to do 20 loads of cargo, and you have to basically run up and down, or jump up and down as I did here, and grab things from like here and take it down and load it on the Brahmin. I have to do that 20 times. Now, maybe normally that's something that's possible, especially if you're in a group. But in this case, it was me by myself, and I was fighting mutated enemies that did freezing damage, which means that they were constantly slowing me down the entire time I was doing it. So I got the gist of the event filmed, but unfortunately, no, I did not complete the event successfully. So I'm going to figure out whether or not I find that to be enough. If not, I'll have to consider it. I'll look into the event more and see if there's something significant that comes from basically completing it properly. And if so, then I will go ahead and come back here, and hopefully when it's not a mutated event, and it's perhaps a bit easier without the freezing damage. But anyway, so yeah, basically talking about what's going on here. The Mothman Cult script is nearly complete. I'm hoping to finish that one tonight or early tomorrow. Then I hope to record the audio tomorrow evening. We'll see exactly what happens there with the Christmas season upon us. There is a lot that I have to do. Specifically, like right now, I actually have a bunch of chopped up figs rehydrating on the counter downstairs. Because I'm trying to make some fig and pear jam. I'm not sure if it's going to work or not. But the figs do appear to be rehydrating properly. And in the past, I've bought fresh figs, but unfortunately I missed that season, so... Anyway, though, so again, after the Mothman Cult lore video, which you should be getting, I'm going to guess Tuesday. I have a lot of stuff going on Sunday, so I'm probably not going to get the video finished then, but I will have some time on Monday, so I'll get the video finished out on Tuesday, and then I will launch into the next video, which is, of course, the Fallout 3 Metro lore video, and I absolutely plan on getting that one out before the end of the year. I have the entirety of next week off of work, so other than having to spend time with family, getting to spend time with family, and I do love my family, but no, in terms of production, obviously, anything that distracts from production is something that, is a requirement otherwise. What was I saying here? Well, I should be able to get that video done next week, is mainly what I'm trying to say. I actually did already do a good amount of work on that video in the past. So it's going to take a lot more map drawing. It's going to take some more filming. But the video, the script, it's not something where it's incredibly complex, where I'm having to like look up the history of this area and stuff like that. There's going to be a very basic real world section on the real world metro system. Where it's basically just going to be talking about, when it was originally constructed and stuff like that. But then I'm just going to basically go into exactly how all the tunnels connect. And then I'm also going to basically give you a little bit of information on what you find in each one of the sections that's connected by the metro. So you'll get a little synopsis of each of the regions of the downtown of DC. So... again, that's going to be out before the end of the month. I'm not going to let that one linger into next year, because that one's... I was working on that one, I think, at the end of last year, and then got distracted with other stuff, and now I'm coming back to it. And again, if you've missed my conversations on this in the past. I'm going to be changing how I do lore video production in the coming year. 2 videos a month on one game at a time. Fallout 3 for January, Fallout New Vegas for February, Fallout 4 for March, Fallout 76 for April, and Starfield for May. And again, just going in a cycle like that. Now, along with that, if I do get the time, and I'm hoping that I will get the time, I'm going to do a playthrough of the Dragon Age series. Now, that is something I've been saying I'm going to do since January of 2022, but I'm going to get around to it this time. I'm going to make sure that I do that. And part of it is one of those things where I actually really do want to play through that stuff again, because it's been a long time since I've done anything in Dragon Age. We'll do Dragon Age Origins, and its DLC, The Awakening, or Awakening, I can't remember which. Anyway, regardless, then Dragon Age 2, Dragon Age Inquisition, and then maybe Dragon Age Veilguard. No, I'll do it. It's one of those things where it's, again, most of the stuff I've seen on that game, aside from the environment work, I've heard generally bad stuff. Some people enjoy the combat, some people don't. A lot of people say the writing is fairly poor. So, anyway, though, let's go ahead and take a look at the challenges here. I hope y'all are having a good week. Hope you all get some time off in the coming week. I know not everybody does. My wife, for example, working as a nurse, does not get all that much time off. She does have Christmas off. She has had to work on Christmas in the past, so it's nice that she gets that day off this time. So yeah, people in the hospitality field, people in the medical field, obviously, you're still going to be working, and I salute you for that, because I'm glad that I don't have to be doing that. And it sucks that you have to be away from your family for things like that. Let's see. Okay, challenges. That's what I was going to go for. Let's see here. Okay, we got, looks like all the challenges have a boost to them right now in terms of the score you get from them. And plus, I can use another little boost thing here. I think that stacks. Did it not? Did I just waste that? Looks like I may have just wasted that. Oh well. Not the end of the world. Let's go ahead and do some of these. Cripple them. Okay, well, I'm obviously not going to do that one, so let's replace that one. Not going to do that one. Okay, mutant hound chops, creatures, black titanium. Okay, let's go ahead and cripple some mole miner heads. Again, sometimes if you give these things a little bit of thought, it's kind of horrific what you're doing. You've got a little challenge to go out there and find people that have been horribly mutated by radiation and chemicals, and you're killing them for sport, effectively, is what this is. And with mole miners, there does actually seem to be some intelligence there. So it's not like you're killing a feral ghoul. At least that's not the way it seems, especially given that they can shoot. And they're also not like the Scorched either, at least as far as I know. Or if they are, then I don't know why we would have individuals like the Purveyor or whatever the heck her name is. I can't even remember off the top of my head. There we go. Yeah, I mean, these people were the Appalachian miners. Of course, all this stuff is gamified, because it's one of those things where if the dwellers of Vault 76 were actually doing stuff like this on a daily basis, there would be no mole miners left by this point. Just because, I mean, what, we're now 6 years into killing mole miners on a fairly regular basis? I mean, they're just, we probably would have wiped them out by this point, or they wouldn't be showing their face on the surface. Let's see. Black titanium. Oh, actually, perfect spot to get some black titanium loot. Miner suit scrap, I believe, is exactly what we needed there. But yeah, so I have at least 3 family functions in the next week. No, 4 family functions in the next week. And the first one is actually on Sunday, which is unfortunate because I thought that I was going to have until at least Christmas Eve to get everything done. But what this effectively means is that tomorrow is going to be like my big prep day. And the problem is that I'm still not 100% done with canning stuff, as I mentioned earlier. I still have to can the Fig and Pear Jam and also Jalapeno jelly. Or is it jalapeno jam? I can't remember. I think it's jam. Good stuff on ham, by the way. Let's see here. But along with that, here we go. See, black titanium. Basically, what I have been doing for the past few years. Let's see, what are we going to do next here? Produce acid? Okay, yeah, we can do that. Typically for that, I go for, I think like a Abraxo. And engine coolant, I think, also contains acid. But for the past few years, what I've been doing for, like, just general gifts for the family, along with canned goods, is I do baked goods. And so every year for the past 3 years now, I prepare these containers of food that are basically a mini fruitcake, peppermint bark, chocolate fudge, peanut butter fudge, Christmas cookies, gingerbread cookies, cherry cordials. I think that's it. So yeah, it's a lot of work. So now I have all the ingredients. Does this contain acid? The bag of chlorine? Yes, yes it does. So that's my tomorrow. Making jalapeno jam and like 7 different baked goods. Definitely the most labor intensive has to be cherry cordials, which if you've never made them before, and up until a few years ago I had never even considered them to be something that you could make by hand, because I'd only ever seen them factory made, and I don't know why I didn't think that people made them by hand in the past. But basically what you do is you make this like really sugar heavy dough to where it's like just a combination almost of like I can't remember, is it milk? I don't think it's milk. I think it's water and almond extract and powdered sugar. And you combine these things, and then let's see, is there any other acid in here? No. You combine these things and you basically make this kind of doughy, this pasty dough, and you wrap the maraschino cherries in it, and then put that into a substance that's called almond bark, which I'm kind of rethinking the almond bark stuff. And to be clear here, we're not talking about that fairly new commercial product called almond bark, which I think is only a few years old at this point. I don't know. Time really keeps skipping. But it's not chocolate with almonds in it. It's a form of chocolate that basically melts and then resolidifies at, I think, a fairly high temperature. So it's good for making candies and stuff like that, but I would not be surprised if there's some sort of industrially produced fat in that's really bad for you. Just because that always seems to be the case, that when food science produces some novel product, it's, oh, so this will just give us cancer in 10 years if we continue to eat it. Oh, okay, well. So I'm going to look into that and see if there's maybe a better alternative. But definitely the other thing that takes the most effort, I think the antifreeze has some acid in it as well. And what are these again? Acetone canisters? I don't think so. But anyway, the other thing that takes the most work is fruitcake, which is basically a combination of an enormous number of different fruits and nuts, along with a batter, and then basically once everything's baked, and assuming you can get these things to come out right, then you gotta coat them in some sort of brandy or some sort of syrup that makes them keep for a couple of months. Let's see here. Got more acid. Is that all we needed? That's all we needed. Okay. Along with that, I think we need leather. Need to scrap 10 leather worth of stuff. Which, I hate killing these Brahmin, just because it feels wrong. Ugh. Okay, let's see what we got here. Brahmin hide. Oh, did that over-encumber me again? Great. Let's see what we got here. New. What else can I drop? Oh, I got a lot of stuff here that I don't really need. How much does all this stuff? This stuff really doesn't weigh that much. I probably have an enormous number of stim packs that I can get rid of. Well, some. Let's go ahead and drop, like, again, because this character never actually gets hurt. So, there we go. Alright. let's see about, what was it I was looking for again? Leather. And so let's go to Hunter's Ridge. So yeah, things to look forward to in the coming year for Fallout 76 is the Ghoul update. I don't know how many of you all out there are gonna actually do that. I'll obviously have to do it at least once. I don't know. I've never been interested in being a ghoul. There are a lot of people for whom that seems to be like a thing that they really want to do. It's one of those things where it's like, yes, there are absolutely upsides to being a ghoul. Basically, what seems to be almost a form of immortality, and up until the Fallout show, like, there was also basically uncontrolled going feral, where it's one of those things where like nobody knew when it was going to happen, why it was going to happen, how it was going to happen. It was just going to happen at some point to you. The Fallout show has added that weird chemical that seems to probably come from ghoul organs, but we still really don't have any information on that. So that's something also, the Fallout TV show, Season 2 of that. If you didn't watch my review on that, basically I think that they have one of the best production management teams out there in terms of producing a world that looks like the Fallout world. I think that they did great with the characters. I just think that in general the plot writing was fairly poorly done. In terms of... Okay, it's only 2 more leather. Just like, again, basically the whole setup for how everything went down really does not make any sense if you really give it a thought. But again, it's one of those things where it's like, there are plenty of adaptations where it's like, if you weren't told, oh yeah, this is an adaptation of that material, like if you're a fan of that, you're gonna hate it, effectively, is the biggest thing here. Whereas, like if you're a newbie, you might think that it's a great production. Probably one of the best examples I've heard of that is like the Halo TV show, where basically everybody that loved Halo hated the TV show, at least from everybody that I've heard talk about it. But their relatives that had never consumed any Halo media in the past didn't have a problem with it at all. In fact, enjoyed it. So, let's see. Mutant Hound Shops, that's what it was, right. Oop, move marker. And I think it's one of those things where it's like, it's a testament to the show that the show's creators, or not the show's creators, the world's creators, though they had issues with lore issues created by the show, thought that in general the show did a good job of basically being a Fallout TV show. So, yeah, my biggest issue lore-wise was easily the fact that they moved Shady Sands into the LA Basin, when that would not have worked for Fallout 1 for the plot. It would have been overrun by the Master's forces fairly early on. And in fact, I was thinking about this too the other day. It doesn't make an enormous amount of sense that Vault 4 was not interfered with by the Master's forces as well. Mutant Hound Shops. So I had basically I had this thought where I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense, and then I realized it actually does not make sense again. Basically, the thought that I had was, oh yeah, the Master wanted basically pure vault dwellers, unaffected by radiation, so that he could create his perfect super mutants or whatever. But at the same time, he still went after Necropolis. So it's like, yes, Vault 4 by that point was fully controlled by mutants, but again, he still went after Necropolis, so why would he not have gone after Vault 4 as well? Given that, again, it's in the LA Basin. So, I don't know. Alright. But yeah, absolutely looking forward to the show. I've been happy to see all the things that I have seen. Definitely looks like they've moved fully into covering the New Vegas area, the Mojave Wasteland.
Don't want to haul it back yourself. Sell it here.
Okay. And I didn't ever actually deposit my scrap. Okay. What was the other thing? Daily quest. What daily quest do we want to do? Let's see. What is going on here with this stuff? Anything that I need to film? No. I don't think so, at least. What is this? Wolfbacks, right. Okay. Well, let's just head up to the resort here. Looks like I can do Esma's quest. But yeah. So again, things to look forward to in the new year. Ghoul update for Fallout 76. Fallout TV show. In terms of games, I'm definitely looking forward to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I really enjoyed the first one. Looking forward to seeing the second one. What else? I'm hoping we're going to finally get some real information on Elder Scrolls 6 next year. I feel like it's the right time for us them to at least start talking to us about it
I
again.
cannot play chess without all of the pieces.
Bonjour. If it isn't my favorite soup,
That's what I'm here for.
I was just
Yes, making the same exact venison stew.
super.
It really...
Let's have you start by
I don't know. I
stirring
feel like
the
I've talked
stew.
about this before. It
Which
feels
will
like
help
there
keep it
was
from
an
burning.
intention here
Remember
to
continuously
have
stir
additional
during the
recipes,
cooking
and they just never
process.
got around to it. So it's like every day you come in to help her make the potato and venison stew.
Pieces are not in their
Fantastique.
places.
Let's get the first of the ingredients and prepare them.
There we go.
You're looking for
cannot
Carrots, potatoes, and
and the pièce de
venison.
résistance, the venison.
I'm not really good with accents, knowing specifically where people come from. There are obvious ones for me, but like regional accents, obviously, I'm not very good
It's
with.
been sunny all week. I love it here.
Oh, there's salt right there, so at least I know where that is. There's the venison. Or no, those are the potatoes. I already had the venison. But I've heard people say that her accent is French Canadian rather than French, and I don't know if that's accurate or not. But honestly, it would kind of make sense, right?
Bored. Does nobody
Given
have
that
any
she's
respect for
here?
the game?
Oh wait, right. Wash the potatoes. Did I?
Every piece has its place, and yet the pieces are not in their
Pound the
places.
venison. Stir the stew again. Oh,
I
just add the
cannot play
ingredients.
chess without all of the
This
pieces.
is
Bowl of
smelling
salt, bowl of pepper.
delicious. Let's add more flavor with some salt and pepper now.
All right, where's the pepper?
I love Esme's cooking. It's been so long since I've had food with actual flavor.
I cannot play chess.
Let's see what else we got coming on next year,
The
though.
work I do is extremely rewarding, but boy, is it
Um,
tiring.
I don't know. I mean, like honestly,
Does nobody have any respect for the game?
I've got so much stuff tied up in content creation that I don't. There's not an enormous amount of other things I've been keeping an eye on. Are there any games specifically I can think of other than Kingdom Come Deliverance
Good
2?
evening.
Piece has its
Our
place,
late
yet the
night
pieces are
fare
not in their
is
places.
still
Oh,
available.
jeez. Okay,
Please
wait. I
have
gotta
a
find the black
seat.
pepper. That's right.
Every piece has
I was
its
out
place.
scavenging for food earlier.
Pieces are
Only
not
got
in their
attacked by
This up
Scorch
here.
once. Need anything?
Ah,
I
there we go.
cannot play chess without all of the pieces.
My friends didn't want to join up with me.
Oh,
It sounded like too much work.
I haven't gotten too much of a chance to play with it because I've been working on other stuff, but Project Zomboid
Now that your
released
stew is done,
Build
it is
42 on
time
the
to add your
Unstable
own
branch.
special-
Let's go ahead and add a stem
A
pack.
restorative. Here is now. You must make. I'll do
I think
my.
I've already become allies with both groups, so I don't think that this matters either way.
No reservation.
Let's just go ahead and give it to the settlers.
required. Help yourself.
But yeah, Build 42 for Project Zomboid is out now on the Unstable branch, and there are I've played it a little bit, and there are
We still
definite
have people
issues
going
with it.
hungry. This stew.
There we go. But at the same time, a lot of what I've seen is very good. So let's see here. I had originally thought,
Water here's a little bland.
no, not we can't be ghouls just yet, Mr. Kruger. Welcome to the stream. At least I think you can on the. Is it the Unstable branch of this or the public test branch? I can't remember. Some people have posted screenshots of it, so I think you can do some of the stuff, but I have not personally done any of that yet myself. I have basically an aversion to the public test branch after having done the stuff for like played on that for Wastelanders. Just because
It's nice to see people
I
around and responding.
felt kind of shortchanged a little bit because I was one of the people out there that was actually following the rules with that, where it's like, no, you can't share any of this with anybody. And then, like, I see like everybody sharing everything all the time, and like I specifically was like preparing content to make, and then I was like reading through the rules, and it's like, no, you can't use anything that you've learned here. And like, oh, okay, well. And so, like, there were little things that I did, and if you watched any of my content around that time, like, I specifically, like, used, like, obviously, like, language that was, where it was clear that
I will find you.
okay, let's just try to say this clearly now. I was showing people locations that were going to change. And so, I would say things like, oh, yeah, you know, this could change. It's, you know, it's just one of any locations that could potentially change in the future in the Wasteland. But yeah, that frustrated me because, again, it was one of those things where it's like I decided to follow the rules and nobody else seemed to have, and then there was like no hammer of justice brought down on anybody. So I'm like, what the hell did I do this for? But yeah, it is probably something I should look into, specifically just because I need to know when locations are changing. And that is one thing I do want to announce as well. I've got to make a channel update video because I was realizing the other day that my last channel update video is from like August of last year, which is ridiculous. But I'm going to also start doing more surveil videos in the next year because there are like a handful of locations at the very least that have basically gotten away from me because they've had updates done to them. Along with that, there are just brand new locations that I should cover as well. Because the truth of the matter is I've covered almost the entirety of like the Northwest Forest area. But there are entirely new locations in this area that need to be covered, like not Anchor Farm. Anchor Farm I have covered. Settlers Ridge, Organ Cave, The Coop, Forward Station Tango, and I need to cover the updates to the Gilman Lumber Mill. Yes, I know you're up there. So yeah, I'm gonna be resuming that in the coming year. Oop. Jeez. Killing blood eagles for the weekly challenge currently. That's what's happening here. I had to think about this location when I was working on the script because one of the few connections between the Mothman cult and the Vault Dwellers in 2103 was actually working with Beckett to free his friend Sage, who had become a Mothman cultist. So you had to go rescue him from Blake's offering, if I remember correctly. So, but yeah, this is the location, of course, where you get Beckett. It is crazy how long it's actually been since that content was released originally. I still haven't done Gleaming Depths yet. I'm entirely planning on creating a full series of content on that. Well, full series, I mean at least a full lore video on that content. But I need to set up a Fallout 76 account in my wife's name. And basically, her computer is 6 feet over there. And so I will go ahead and basically kind of just puppet that around, or hopefully get a little bit of help from her. Because the whole thing there, if you missed it last time, was I went into the Gleaming Depths, and the very first boss, you have to shoot at his back, and he faces one person the entire time, and like is so fast in his turning that you cannot get behind him. So it's at least a 2-person event there. Let's see, anything else here I need to do? No. If I see Beast of Burden pop up again, I might go ahead and just do that. Anyway, there's nothing else here? I don't think. No. No. Okay, good. Right, I just did the not Scorched, Blood Eagles. The next one I was going to do. I can do some Mirelurks. Brain Fungus and Mirelurks, both of those things can be found right here in Wendigo Cave. I did see the couple of trailers over the past couple of weeks. 28 Weeks Later looks really interesting. Not weeks, years later. I still need to see 28 Weeks Later. I saw 28 Days Later, like back when it first came out. Well, a few months after it first came out, because I believe I saw it at a friend's birthday party. Probably was too young at the time to see it. It is a really freaky movie. I need to see 28 Weeks Later at some point. I've heard that it wasn't as good, but it's one of those things where it's still good enough. And the trailer for 28 Years Later looked really good. Or made the movie look really good. So that'll be interesting to see. Along with that, there was the Superman trailer. It's one of those things where it's like, I've always kind of liked Superman, but I was never into comics growing up. It's not something that my parents ever bought for me. Like, literally, the only comic books that I had when I was growing up was Tintin, which I love Tintin. And if you're unaware, Tintin is entering the public domain in 2025. So, him and Popeye are something that we're probably going to see a lot more content made of in the coming year. I did see somebody say, hopefully, if this, and by the way, here's some of the Mirelurks. I need to get some more brain fungus. There was somebody saying, please don't let this stuff just be turned into more horror game slop like Mickey Mouse did when he became public domain. And it wasn't even fully Mickey Mouse, it was Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse. Who just ended up in, like, multiple horror games. I would agree with that, because, especially with Tintin, because, like, seriously, Tintin was one of my favorite things growing up. Alright, let's see. Oop. You're technically a Mirelurk. And so are the offspring of the Mirelurks as well. Hey, Acorn Electron! Yeah, Merry Christmas to you as well. Good to see you. See, gold. I don't think I've ever seen that there's gold in here before. Of course, gold in the Fallout universe. I mean, aside from the stuff that they've got sealed up in Vault 79, gold is not something that's... Oh, okay. Well, okay. I'll say on the East Coast, gold has never really been something that people generally focus on that much. New Vegas and the Sierra Madre, there's a little bit more focus on gold there. But, like, the things that I've always found to be more interesting in Fallout 76 when I find them is lead veins. It's like, okay, here's a new place to put an ammo farm. More brain fungus. Ooh. But yeah, so back to what I was saying before, though. So it's like, I always liked Superman from the TV cartoons, but it was never something where I ever had the comics, so I don't have that level of connection to it. So when people were like, oh, it's Crypto, when the dog comes running up, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I'm interested. Like, I want to know why it is that there's, like, a super dog that Superman has. Like, what was the cause of that dog's superpowers? And it's one of those things where it's been sad to see the fall of superhero movies basically since Endgame. They have just not been doing very well. And so you gotta kind of hope for the sake of those movies that Superman does really well. Dog has his own cartoon series, okay. I know that I remembered seeing at least I think a game with super dogs in it last year. So I didn't know that they had a show for it though as well. Let's see. So we got all the brain fungus we need, and I think we've basically dealt with the Mirelurk population that's here. So let's go ahead and go to another Mirelurk location, which is Ohio River Adventures. Yeah, was good to see Nathan Fillion in a bowl cut. Oh man. But yeah, it's funny because, like, obviously Marvel has been doing a lot better than DC in the whole movie space. But it's one of those things where when I was growing up, it was definitely the case that I was exposed to DC far more than Marvel. Like that Batman animated series from the early 90s. Loved that. I don't remember encountering almost any Marvel stuff until I was basically an adult. Other than projects that I didn't know were Marvel, like Blade. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I think, and I don't know if I'm ever just misreading my father's views on these things. But, like, he was very much into science fiction. and like introduced me to all kinds of stuff in that field, but like never seemed to have any interest in anything like aside from sci-fi books and the occasional movie. So things like, again, like comic books were never anything that were introduced to me. I don't remember watching an X-Men cartoon when I was growing up. Like, I've seen people share clips of it before. I don't remember that. And it's another thing, too, where there are also people that are, like, big on Dragon Ball Z. Like, I never watched that growing up. I watched Pokemon. Is that the end of the Mirelurk eggs? Let's try the other side. Ooh, is that... Yes, more eggs. Wait, I gotta actually have them come out. Which means that I've gotta disturb them, not shoot them. There we go. I'm being an idiot here. I'm destroying the eggs before the Mirelurks can pop out so I can kill them. Oh my good lord. That thing was evading bullets like crazy. And there's another one, I hope. And there's a Mirelurk egg. You know, I gotta say that, like... The whole... Jeez Louise. The way they made VATS work in 76 is, I think, honestly a step up from the way it worked in previous games. Because it honestly makes more sense. It's kind of like... the VATS working the way it did made a lot more sense when Fallout was turn-based combat. I think that they made it make a lot more sense for the actual first-person shooter real-time stuff that we got from Fallout 3 on. Yeah, no, because I was born in '90, so yeah, no. Again, VATS is perfect for isometric. For back in the isometric games where it was turn-based combat and everything like that, 100%. VATS was working the way it did was 100% the way it should have worked. But when we're in real-time combat, it's one of those things where it feels a little bit like when you stop the combat in the middle of a fight in Skyrim to go ahead and... That was weird. It's a little bird decoration surrounded by bird crap. Are there a bunch of those? No. What am I seeing over here? But when you stop a fight in the middle of a fight in Skyrim to like eat 16 wheels of cheese to heal yourself 32 points or whatever you get out of that. Alright, let's see. More Mirelurks. Or what else do we have in weekly challenges? And how many do I still have? 14 left. Jeez Louise. Burnt books. If you're wondering where to get burnt books, Summersville is your place. Yeah. No, I agree with that. The one thing I will say that is frustrating about VATS in 76 is the fact that you have to have a specific perk in order to target individual body parts when that's never been a thing before. That annoys me. I mean, it's a minor thing, but at the same time, it's like, why would we lose that unless we take a perk card to do it? Let's go find the other. I think there's 2 more feral ghouls here, and maybe just 1 more. Hello. Also, I think that they, I don't know. I think they did a good job with the feral ghouls in both Fallout 3 and New Vegas and Fallout 4 and 76. They're definitely different, though. Significantly different, in fact. But I think that... So, first of all, the way they look in 3 is more creepy. The way they look in 4 is more disgusting. Like, that's gross. In 3, they really do look like... They're like almost like walking skeletons with like a little bit of flesh on the bones. Again, burnt textbooks. I think we need 25 of these. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. There we go. But yeah, and 4, and the way they move in 4 is also... 4 and 76 is significantly more creepy, honestly. So they look creepier in 3. They move creepier in 4. Yes, the book and textbook are both counted. And this house is absolutely full of them. Now, if you're unaware of the story with this house, it was owned by a friend of, what's her name? Hornwright. Good lord, how am I having trouble remembering her name right now? Been too long since I've talked to her, I guess. Penelope Hornwright. I don't need to go there now. And now I remember the name. Penelope Hornwright. It was owned by a friend of Penelope Hornwright who had developed an update for the software of the Pip-Boy. Let's see here. Challenges. Weekly. Soap. Okay. Let's go get some soap. If you're unaware of where to go get soap, it's going to be like right around in here. So let's go to the new River Gorge Resort. Oh! A little bit of tidbit of Mothman lore that I can share with y'all here. It'll be in my video as well, but I thought it was interesting. So, in the Mothman Cometh, which is that 2-part holotape series on the Mothman within the Fallout universe, first of all, that is not a recounting of the original encounter with the Mothman. That's at least my takeaway from it, because the way it's worded, where it's basically like... I can't remember exactly. Sorry, it's been like a week since I've looked at that specifically. But basically, there's wording in there that makes me think that they were they were aware of what the Mothman was by that point. So it was not they were seeing something for the first time. But the whole point of what I was going to say there is that they were found near what they called like the Fayetteville Rail Bridge. Real quick, like tiny little point of information there. Basically, anywhere in the U.S. that's called Fayetteville is named after the Marquis de Lafayette, the French noble that came to the U.S. to help us fight the British during the Revolution. Big hero here, kind of a mixed bag for the French. He was a big hero at the early stages of the French Revolution, then became like a symbol of reactionary politics. So again, he has a much much better reputation here. Not that it's bad in France, but it's much better here. Okay, I think we're going down there. Yeah, we're looking for a bathtub under a power pylon, and I'm hoping it's not that one. I don't think it... Let me go take a look at that again, just in case. Yeah, anyway, though, so the Fayetteville Rail Bridge is where they were when they were suddenly being, like, run down by a train, and they had to... Yeah, I think at least every state has at least one Fayetteville or something like that. But anyway, the... Fayetteville is a town in real-world West Virginia that lies just southwest of the new River Gorge Bridge, which we're seeing right there. So effectively, in the Fallout universe, it seems that either Fayetteville's located somewhere different, or that they were like that Fayetteville's bridge, the new River Gorge Bridge, has a rail line on it, which it doesn't here. So I don't know. But the way they talk about it, too, they're like, oh, we're above the river. It looks like it's like 1,000 feet below. And the real world new River Gorge Bridge is something like 800-something feet above the new river. So, and there we go. Like I said, you need soap, you come here for soap. So if you're looking at the map here. Yeah, I got it to the wrong pylon. It's this pylon here. Just south of the 86B and just to the northwest of the rail line here. So... let's see how much soap we get out of this. And there's... okay, there you go. Yeah. Taking a bath out here. Got all this soap. Okay. Let's see. Challenges. What is next here? Board games. Mirelurks. Scrap junk to produce gears. Sell a weapon to a weapon NPC vendor. That one's easy. Because I'm cheating. Let's go here. So yeah, it's an interesting little thing, though, that, again, Fayetteville in the real world lies just southwest of the New River Gorge Bridge. And the bridge that they list in the show, in the little radio show, sounds like it's actually the New River Gorge Bridge, but with a train line on it. So, And all the characters in that have their names based on the real-world individuals who encountered the Mothman on November 15th, 1966. Yeah, I mean, doing some challenges and talking about upcoming lore and
Welcome,
what's going on with that
citizen.
stuff. Let's see
I
here.
am authorized
Right,
to
weapons.
trade
15 weapons.
supplies.
And because I'm in my Fallout world, I produce weapons without any material cost. So yeah, if you missed it earlier, I'm going to be finishing the... I don't know why I keep going to that. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, I think. I'm going to be finishing the Mothman Cult lore video by Tuesday. And then I'm going to be finishing the
Supply
Fallout
here,
3
citizen.
Metro video before the end of the year. Because I have the entirety of next week off work. And aside from family events, I'm going to be spending my time working on the Fallout 3 video. So, okay, let's see here. Challenges, weekly, anything else left here? Well, obviously multiple things. Gears, the thing that always comes to mind with gears is typewriters and fans, I think. No, fans I think is screws. But typewriters always makes me think of the HR office of this company up here that was dealing with a harassment claim. So let's go up there. Yep, there you go. A little bit of lore there. That was interesting. At the bottom of the screen, first super mutants created in Appalachia just before the war. Yeah, you know what's fun is that the Mothman Museum has a live cam on the Mothman statue. And so you can actually just like see people out taking pictures with it all the time if you want. Yeah, there are so many people that make a pilgrimage there just to touch the very shiny metal buttocks of the Mothman statue. Typewriters, like I said. God, I do love it. And I can't remember what it was that I was reading. There's some old science fiction book from, I think, like the 60s that I was reading the other day. And unfortunately, like, I had to, like, get away from it and go do other stuff. But there was something where it's like, oh, this guy invented a... It's, like, set in, like, the distant future, hundreds of years from now. It's like, invented this brand new form of typewriter. And it's like, wow. There are definitely times where that works out really well. Because it creates an aesthetic. Like, what I'm talking about here is when they have, basically... What is happening here? Oh, I think I just got a text and an email at the same time. Let's see here. Sorry, 1 second. Let me respond to that. So, basically, when you look at... so, like, Star Wars, for example, when they made Star Wars, computers were still basically room-sized at that point in time. And so you've got Han Solo calculating the jump to hyperspace with, like, a pad of paper. And I think, like, a slide rule or something like that. There we go. HR meeting minutes. Let's see here. Is that even going to show up in new, or do I already have that on this character? HR meeting minutes. Probably going to be in notes. But then also you got things like Alien, where the computers all have that, like, green screen. And it's like, so it's kind of like looking at Fallout, where all the computers, you know, they had terminals, basically, like this. Let's see here. HR meeting minutes. And it's one of those things where it's like, you got to wonder what movies we're making now about the future. Like, and what they're going to look like. Like, how ridiculous some of the things that are going to look in the future. Where is this note? Huh. Maybe in I think it's in holotapes. No, I don't know where it went. Okay, maybe I'm just misremembering its name. Anyway, It was one of those things where I originally found it was on it when I was investigating Morgantown to make my first civic lore video back in 2019. And I found that and I thought it was interesting. Yeah, I gotta say, like, at some point, part of the Fallout universe needs to start getting a little greener. Like, and it's one of those things where it's like, I don't actually know if it's the case that it hasn't gotten any greener, because at the end of the day, when you play Fallout 4, you're playing in the fall. So it makes sense that all the trees look like they're dying, because effectively all the leaves would be dying at that time of year. And it's not like the game updates the foliage based on the time of year. I wish it would, honestly. And I wish we'd start getting, like, snow and stuff like that. Because I don't think that there's any reason to not have that kind of stuff. Because you get to a couple hundred years. First of all, if you're unaware, the basic thinking on the concept of nuclear winter is that the original projections were fairly overblown with how that would work. Likely what happened there was you had some activists that were so against the concept of nuclear weapons that they basically made it seem like any sort of nuclear strike would be a full permanent ending to the world, which, no, I 100% do not want to see nuclear weapons used in any form, strategic or tactical, because there are always those people that are like, no, you can just use a tactical nuke, just blow up a small area. It's like, no, you use a nuclear weapon, you're basically initiating a nuclear exchange, and that's going to end the world. But it's one of those things where it's basically, with the way that most cities are built, effectively what's going to happen with most of the nukes is, yeah, there's going to be an initial firestorm like you got with Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but that really, a part of that was because those buildings were built out of wood and paper. A lot of them. And effectively, most buildings now, at least in, like, cities, are built out of stone, brick, steel, glass. And so, effectively, they collapse on themselves. And in a lot of cases, they effectively smother any sort of flame that is burning within. And so, yeah, you do absolutely get, like, a firestorm that'll rage through a city or something like that, but the amount of material that's being thrown up into the sky isn't going to be there forever. It's going to fall out. Like, literally, the word fallout refers to the falling out of nuclear material from the clouds. And so, yeah, it basically rains nuclear material onto the ground. I've been in this place multiple times. I'm trying to find the bookshop. As I'm talking about stuff, and I'm kind of absent-mindedly trying to find the bookshop. Because I think there's another typewriter in there or something like that. Something with gears. That's what we're looking for here. Oop. But anyway, so yeah, the thinking is that nuclear winter probably would not be a thing. Or if it would be very shortly lived. One of those things where it kind of like in the Fallout universe, where you have literally a single nuclear winter, which lasts over the course of the winter from 2077 to 2078, and this is something that's been corroborated both in Fallout 76 and in Fallout New Vegas. In Fallout New Vegas, you have that survivor in Zion Canyon who talks about seeing, like, glowing snow. But in Fallout 76, you also have people who talk about how awful the winter of 2077 to 2078 is. But effectively, after that, you would have weather patterns. It would obviously take some time, but we're now up to 220 years post-war with the Fallout TV show, so you're going to have normal weather patterns returning to the world. And I would guess probably far before that as well. So, I mean, Fallout 76 honestly has probably the best version of that when you still have... There's rain in Fallout 4 too. I keep thinking of Fallout 3 where it never rains. But... like, there's going to be snow and stuff like that, you know, that eventually falls and things like that. But yeah, the whole campaign against duck and cover, calling the concept, like, stupid, was effectively by the same people that were like, oh no, the entire world is just going to be gone. And it's like, I get it. You don't want there to be a nuclear war. I 100% am on board with that. But telling people not to duck and cover in the case of a nuclear strike is basically calling for people to be injured horribly. Because the point of duck and cover isn't to, like, hide out from the nuclear bomb. When you're down there, you're not going to get hurt by the radiation. No, the point of ducking and covering under a desk is because when the windows blow out and you have enormous amounts of glass flying towards you, and you have rubble falling from the ceiling. You don't want that stuff hitting people. Let's see here. In patio furniture. Wait, no, it's not a crescent wrench. That's what I'm... Or adjustable wrench. That's what I'm looking for gears. Between that... Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, and so... That's the thing, too, is... The kind of lore on what types of nukes were used in the Fallout universe is kind of fuzzy. I don't think the combination wrench... Yeah, gear... Oh, well, these... I need to scrap things to make gears. Unfortunately, that thing being gears is not helpful. But basically, you look at the paperwork... Well, my understanding of Duck and Cover, again, is that when you're... Basically, when the initial flash comes, which is the first wave of radiation coming off the bomb, which is then followed by the explosive wave and fire, is, yeah, you're not... Obviously, if you're too close, you're going to be dead no matter what. But if you're far enough away that you're not going to be dead immediately, it's to basically duck down, hide from the flying glass and debris. So that's what that's all about. Now, probably, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there was also an issue of trying to make sure they can identify your remains. Oh, I think this has a gear in it. Lanterns, don't they? Let's see. But again, I hate activists that... basically, in the effort of championing their cause, will actually potentially cause harm to people. Lantern. Yes. No. I thought there was gears in that, because there's literally a gear on it. I mean, what do you think's happening when you're twisting that knob in order to have the wick come in and out? I don't know. Anyway, I could have sworn that there was a gear in that. Favorite faction or setting? So, favorite faction, there's basically, honestly, my favorite factions come from Fallout 76. Actually, Fallout 4 also, Minutemen. And I like, so let's go game by game and talk about the favorite factions. Let's see. Fallout 1. God, I don't know. None of the factions are all that fun in Fallout 1. I mean, the Brotherhood are just actively jerks in Fallout 1. Yeah. Let's see. Fallout 2. I still need to experience more of Fallout 2 if I don't want to go into that one too deeply, because I have played Fallout 2 multiple times, probably up to a good 20 hours total at this point. But it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know the factions well enough to really speak on them. Scrap... Oh, yeah, create bulk gears and scrap them. That would actually work, you're right. Okay, so let's just start with the games where I actually do know what the hell I'm talking about more so. Because it's one of those things where, if I haven't talked about this, if you haven't heard me talk about this before, it's difficult for me to film in Fallout and Fallout 2. I figured out the aspect ratio issues that I was having in the past, so that's not really an issue, but... The save system and the number of bugs I experience in Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 are just... Fallout 1 specifically are enormous. Like, there are entire times where I will have save lines that have just become so corrupted so I can't use them anymore. But okay, so going to games where I really actually do know the factions properly. Let's go starting off Fallout 3. Lion's Brotherhood is probably the best faction in that game. And it's one of those things where...
Oh, pardon me.
Retroactively, from Fallout 76, we know that basically Lions was following... Where is this mole rat that's destroying my stuff? It's inside the garage destroying the fusion generator. Lion's Brotherhood was, from Fallout 76, doing... Elder Maxon's original view of what the Brotherhood was supposed to be, which was saving lives. How many gears we get here? 5. How many do I need? 10? It doesn't matter. I'll just craft a couple of bulk gears and scrap them. His whole thing was both saving lives and preserving technology. It was then shifted by his son and by... other elders in the Brotherhood to being about specifically just preserving technology. And honestly, I think that was a massive mistake on their part. because like I've talked about before, like people can get behind your organization if you're actively out there saving people's lives. But if your whole point of being is like safeguarding that that specific version of a toaster because no one has the plans for that toaster anymore, it's like, who's going to get behind you on that thing? And obviously I'm using an absurd argument right there, but like it's one of those things where like if you talk about like the Brotherhood of Steel here in Appalachia prior to the Scorching, they were working with the Responders to fight the super mutants and save the lives of the people here in Appalachia. So yeah, they absolutely also were recovering technology, but they were doing things that were good for the people, and because of that, the people could support them. Now, obviously there was kind of a disconnect that came with what happened with Harper's Ferry, and then the Scorched destroying the Brotherhood of Steel, and the Responders not believing it. Honestly, that seemed to me to always be like the biggest fault of the Responders, is that they never took the Scorched seriously until it was too late. But regardless, so going back to what I was originally talking about before I got sidetracked, Lions Brotherhood, best faction in Fallout 3. Going to Fallout 4, the Minutemen. I am always on board with local folks banding together to create a safe society for each other. And then Fallout 76, no, Fallout New Vegas. Sorry, going to Fallout New Vegas. Honestly, I always lean towards the NCR. But I have reasons to like basically. Well, I don't I don't generally like the Caesar's Legion, other than the fact that I have an affinity for the Roman Empire, so there is a small amount of affinity that I have for Caesar's Legion because of that. Affection I have for Caesar's Legion because of that. But everything else they do is horrific, and a lot of that is because the unwashed version of the Roman Empire was fairly horrific. The amount of slavery that took place in the Roman Empire is appalling. But again, it was the complete norm in the world at the time. So it's like everybody was taking slaves. It was just the norm of warfare that was the case. Mirelurks. Let's go to. Isn't there one that's actually... No, that's Gulper Lagoon. I was thinking there was one named for Mirelurks, but I think Highland Marsh has Mirelurks. Okay, so I generally support the NCR because I find the Republic to be the best form of government. At least the best one devised so far. But I also have a certain amount of desire to see like Mr. House win, because at the end of the day, like the things he's talking about doing, it's like one of those things where there's definitely issues with having like super intelligent, super wealthy people that effectively run your society, because that can go bad very quickly. But the stuff that he talks about doing is stuff that I'm very passionate about, which is like expanding into space and all that stuff. But yeah, I would not really probably want to live in a situation where Robert House ends up effectively being the unquestioned dictator of the Mojave. But at the same time, I feel like he probably is the best chance they have for returning to any sort of pre-war normalcy, in terms of like at least the way your life is lived, in terms of like the technology that's available to you and stuff like that. The Brotherhood in New Vegas is fairly pathetic. And I say that not just because I have an affinity for Lions Brotherhood, but because, by the way, every single one of these hatchlings counts as a Mirelurk. So for that count, those things count. But what they've been reduced to, and all of that seems so unnecessary. Like the fact that the Brotherhood of Steel decided to. I still need to look more into the fight between the Brotherhood and the NCR, because it just seems like it was such a stupid conflict that never needed to happen. And some of the problem there is I don't know what is actually lore and what isn't, because there's this whole backstory of basically so some of it seems to have been effectively confirmed by, what's the proper word here? It's one of those things where you try to think of a word and it keeps throwing the wrong one at you, and no matter how many times you try to force your way past it, it keeps giving you the wrong one. It's not coincidental. It's not. Stop giving me that word. Okay, regardless. The way that the money is devalued in Fallout New Vegas tells me that this story seems to have some truth to it. I don't think I've gotten... Well, this is on my Fallout world, so even if I got the whoopsies on there, that wouldn't count for anything, unfortunately. What am I... Board games, right. And events. Okay. No, it's not apocryphal. It's, circumstantial. Yes, not coincidental, circumstantial. There is circumstantial evidence pointing to the lore being real, while it doesn't seem to have been anything that was actually overtly confirmed. And effectively what this is that there was a war between the Brotherhood and the NCR. This does seem to have been something that happened. I don't think there's any dispute about that. And in fact, the fact that the NCR has former Brotherhood power armor that they've stripped all the servos out of because they didn't know how to do power armor training, that seems to clarify that completely. But the part of it that Columbo levels of evidence, the part of it that I don't think has ever been fully confirmed is that the NCR was using a gold-based currency. They'd moved away from a water-based currency, which is caps. Because if you're not aware, the reason they use caps is because the water traders of the hub used caps as currency. And water being an extremely valuable resource, they effectively created the currency. Or created the fact that caps were the currency. So the NCR moved to a gold-based monetary system until the... Again, this is the part of the lore that seems to be kind of fluffy. I don't know if it's actually been nailed down or not. Until the Brotherhood of Steel nuked their gold supply. And so effectively it made it so that they had to go back to a fiat-based currency like modern America has. And that's why nothing is worth anything anymore. That's why their $100 bills like 30 caps. So... Again, I don't know if that's actually canonical lore or not, though, that the Brotherhood actually ended up nuking the gold supply. Because, again, I feel like that's something that was part of the storyline originally for Van Buren. Now, again, the fact that the gold seems to... that their currency is as devalued as it is by Fallout New Vegas seems to indicate that something has happened like that they've gone to a fiat-based currency. Which is obviously also significantly devalued compared to the Legion's money, which is literally gold and silver currency. There's not even a paper, like a greenback, that's backed by those things. It's literally just the precious metals. But yeah, again, so my whole thing there was talking about the Brotherhood. Yeah, very hard to counterfeit caps. Yeah, I mean, you can do it here, and I would think at least you could... Well, that's the thing. I don't know if you could actually do it here. Because there is the bottling plant, but my guess would be that they would have the caps shipped to them, and then they would just use them on the bottles, which the bottles would probably also be shipped to them as well. Yeah. So again, the Brotherhood of Steel was in a ridiculous state by... the time the courier showed up, having lost the battle at Helios 1. Yeah, they were not doing well. So again, I feel like they're kind of out of the running. Then you got all the minor factions like the Kings. I think the Kings are my favorite minor faction just because they're quite comical, but they honestly also seem to be generally good people. Like, they seem to be trying to do the right thing, but they also do so in a ridiculous manner by dressing up like Elvis. Let's see, anything else in here? I'm looking for board games, which I'm hoping are going to be in, like, the gym or something like that. It would make sense, right? You've got a shelter, you probably got kids playing board games to try to keep their mind off the nuclear apocalypse going on outside. Oh, more scorched. Let's see. Well, there's chess. Okay, there's blast radius. I want to see, does chess count as a board game? Does the chessboard count for that? Let's see. Okay. Weekly, we got one board game. Grabbing the chessboard. Did that count? Yes, that does count. Okay, there you go. Now we know. Now I just need one more. Unfortunately, it almost looks like beer pong over here, but it's not a board game. So yeah, again, most affinity for the NCR in Fallout New Vegas. And when it comes to Fallout 4, again, like I said, the Minutemen. The rest of the factions, they've got some issues with them. Honestly, like, obviously the Institute is the most, like, overtly evil of the factions, but it's not like the Brotherhood of Steel is really doing great stuff at that point in time either. They're clearly out for themselves in a big way. And the Railroad, like, I don't know, I've got mixed thoughts on... okay, so I can disarm on this character for that stuff. I got mixed thoughts on the synths, because it's hard to tell if you have robotic... So it's one of those things, it's a question of what makes... Okay, real quick. What the hell is this stuff? You can find this in a few places across Appalachia. I don't know what it is. It's disgusting. I don't know what this is, but it's nasty. Anyway. You've got to question whether or not a synth is a person... Okay, so whether or not you would basically confer personhood status upon synths. Because it's one of those things where it's like, do they actually have consciousness, or are they programmed to believe they have consciousness? Right? Are they really just machines that believe that they're alive? And at the end of the day, it's like, it's almost a question of what is consciousness? Is it something where having consciousness is simply like believing that you have it? I don't know. Like, it's hard to define exactly what's going on with the synths, because the Institute seems to not really have a full handle on it, because they seem to be losing them a lot of the time. So you'd think that if they really understood exactly what was going on with the synths, that they wouldn't need coursers to go around pulling them back in. Well, again, so the main point of bringing that up is, like, are the Railroad right to do what they're doing, or are they well-intentioned but misinformed? And that's the thing, we don't really know. Looking for one more board game here. Oop. Wasn't there another one? Yes. Autopsy. There we go. So I would say that, yeah, of the groups in Fallout 4, it's easily the Minutemen at the top, followed probably by the Railroad. Yeah. And, okay, we can do some events real quick. Let's see. Fly Swatter, I think, is real fast. Manhunt is also ridiculously quick. Let's do a Manhunt real quick. The Railroad is probably right behind them in terms of, like, good, morally good. Followed by the Brotherhood of Steel, and then the Institute at the very bottom. And, like, the Institute is, like, far below the rest of them in terms of their morality.
This is the Warden of Eastern Regional Penitentiary. Oh, it seems Mad Dog Malone has escaped. Again. Any law-abiding citizens hearing this message should proceed to Grafton Dam and attempt to subdue him.
I love that the Warden is an AI program running on a mainframe, but they felt the need to make him Southern, just to, like, give him some more cred with the locals. I don't know how else to explain why he's got that accent that he has. By the way, if you need the Ruby Ruins, Grognek the Barbarian in the Ruby Ruins game, it's right here. Basically, you come in the front door here, go upstairs, and you can drop down onto this platform, and that's where it is. This is where... what's his name? I thought there's a note around here. I'm trying to remember his name. Arthur Wood's kid was originally kidnapped from the Wavy Willard's water park by his uncle, because his uncle was trying to basically stop his brother-in-law, Arthur Wood, from basically destroying all of this valley up here with the plant. Oh, there's another board game, but I already have all the ones I need. Wait, more events. Where was I, though, in my thought process? Right, I had just talked about that. Right, events. Fly Swatter, I think, is also fairly quick. So yeah, I think we've covered Fallout 4 by this point. So in Fallout 76, we've got the original main 5 factions, plus like a 6th one that's kind of emerged.
Gonna kill you.
And a 7th, yeah. Can you have enough board games? I think you can draw the line at multiple chessboards. I don't think you need multiples. Unless you got a group of people. Plus, I mean, you can also use them as checkers boards. Jeez
All in
Louise.
all, fire breathers, lurking here, and I've got a priority alert for you. We picked up another one of them
Done.
automated survey verdict box out in the ash heap. Those things are great for salvage, but you'll need to hit it hard and fast
Okay.
if you're gonna knock it down. The noise also tends to attract unwanted
Jeez.
attention, so watch your backs. Good luck.
Another
Try
event.
not to get killed.
Feral Ghoul Horde. Let's see what this is all about. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Okay, so the original 5 factions plus the 6th, and then a 7th. And really one of... Okay, let's just go through them. You got the Responders. The Responders are a great faction. They're people that just came together to try to help people. The government was failing them, so they came together, they formed effectively their own government, and used it to save as many lives as possible. And then after the war, like, as the years went by, they tried to actually set up a functioning society. So, it was a good group. The Free States. People that were basically calling out the fact that the government was fascistic and ridiculously corrupt. I mean, find the source of the ghouls. Is this... Okay. Let's see where it's... Okay. I get it. It wants us to go to all these locations. They had inside information telling them exactly how bad the American government was in the Fallout universe in the 2070s. And so they were forming their own... They did not want a part of Vault-Tec because they knew how evil Vault-Tec was. And so they were creating their own bunkers in order to basically survive the nuclear war that they knew that the government was going to bring about them. And it's one of those things where everybody before the war treated them horribly, basically called them traitors and everything like that. But as soon as the, well, not as soon as the dust cleared, but a few years after the dust cleared, they returned, and despite the fact that they were basically treated as the enemy by all of their neighbors in the past, they came out, yeah, a corrupt government? No. A government that's beholden to military contractors? No. That's not a thing in the real world. Anyway, basically, despite the fact that they'd been treated like utter garbage by their neighbors, they came back and they saved their neighbors' lives. Great people. Both the Free States and the Responders, excellent people. Next on that list, the Appalachian Brotherhood of Steel. Definitely an interesting group. Originally the Army Ranger Unit, Taggarty's Thunder. They took over Camp Venture over here, right there. Originally it was a survivalist training camp owned by members of the Free States. And they came out and they took it over and turned it into a new training camp where they were actually training Army Rangers until... well, and they were in contact with Roger Maxson on the West Coast. And when he created the Brotherhood of Steel, they joined him in that. And so, if you've watched my videos, you know all this stuff. But effectively, generally a good organization. Definitely some issues here and there. Taggarty, Lieutenant Elizabeth Taggarty, then became Paladin Taggarty, had issues with trust. She definitely could have done better in convincing the responders of the issue. Like, when it really comes... Oh, I'm glad I can do that for you with my videos. She had issues with trust, and it's one of those things where the Brotherhood of Steel had active working vertibirds up until the Scorched Beast became a really serious threat. And so it's like they could have simply taken a vertibird over to the Morgantown Airport, to the Responders' secondary headquarters, like, well, not secondary headquarters, their headquarters that they formed after they lost their original headquarters in Charleston. Just taken, I don't know, Maria Chavez even, put her on the vertibird, flown her over to the Cranberry Bog, and shown her the Scorched Beasts, and there would have been no question at that point that they were in dire need of all the ammunition and supplies they could get their hands on. So definitely failures on the part of Elizabeth Taggarty there, but at the same time she was also being crippled by Roger Maction's aversion to nuclear weapons, and it's one of those things where you can have an understanding of someone having an aversion to using nuclear weapons after you just survived a nuclear apocalypse like 20 years prior, but at the same time, I mean, it became immediately obvious, especially with the collapse. Wait, didn't I already explore this site? No, that was, wasn't it? I thought I was already here. Maybe not. I don't know. I might be thinking of something else. Anyway, it becomes immediately obvious, especially with the failure of Operation Touchdown, which was the Brotherhood of Appalachian... Whoa! Okay, we found the source. It becomes immediately available that, especially from Operation Touchdown, that a conventional means of taking out the Scorched Beast Queen is not going to work. And at that point, you have to move forward with nukes. Okay, so, again, Brother of Steel in Appalachia, mixed bag. Generally good, especially back when before the Battle of Huntersville. The Battle of Huntersville really marks the departure of them from doing good to looking after themselves. And technically speaking, no, they were not just looking after themselves. They were also looking into issues with they were also taking care of issues with the Scorched Beasts. Let me see here. The vertebrate clear out the area jump jet and all that. Yeah. Yeah. Well, also in the real world, we also have the Osprey. The Osprey is probably the closest thing we have in the to the vertibird. My understanding with the Osprey is that at least at the beginning, the Osprey was like a ridiculously bad investment because it was one of those things where it's like it was really, I think it still is very maintenance heavy in the same way that helicopters are incredibly maintenance heavy, but it was one of those things where it's like not just maintenance heavy, but like you're trying to basically work on both a helicopter and an aircraft at the same time, because it has both of those systems. Because if you're unaware of what the Osprey does, it has these swiveling turbines, not turbines, props. And so it can go from airplane to helicopter, so it can take off vertically and then swivel those things forward and fly like a plane, so it can go a lot faster. But yeah, that's the closest thing you get to a vertibird. But again, back to 76. The Brother to Steel, a flawed organization, but still generally good, especially pre-Battle of Huntersville. Helicopter ain't no jump jet. No, I know. But then... let's see, the other organizations, the Raiders of the Savage Divide, almost unambiguously, no, they are absolutely unambiguously the worst faction. No, sorry. Looking at the flag of the worst faction in Fallout 76. And honestly, like, not even the fault of everybody in the organization, but definitely the fault of the head of the organization. So, basically, in terms of worst factions, you go Enclave down to the Raiders. And the Raiders really aren't that much better than the Enclave, excuse me. But the Enclave are absolutely responsible for so much of the problems that happened here in Appalachia. And number one among those being the Scorched Beasts and the Scorched Plague. Both of those things created accidentally in a cave, now known as the Glassed Cavern. And it is a site that has basically ruined the region. Yeah. Well, it's one of those things. I'm not even talking about they were just following orders. I'm talking about the groups the part of the Enclave that was actually massacred by Eckhart in the aftermath of him taking over, because he took over. If you don't remember, basically it was him. He was the Secretary of Agriculture. There was also the Secretary of the Treasury and the Secretary of the Interior, I believe. I don't think the Secretary of the Interior made it. The Secretary of the Treasury died shortly after he arrived of radiation poisoning. And then it was left to Eckhart. Eckhart was the next in line because they were cut off from the president who was out on the West Coast. So he took over, and his immediate decree was, we're going to continue the war against China. And anybody that doesn't agree with me, we're gonna have a vote. If you don't want to do it, you say so now. He has the vote. A large number of people say they don't want to continue the war with China. They want to help the country recover, because these are basically people that were like, yeah, look, I was on board with this whole thing when we thought we were basically gonna remake the world in a better image, but we're looking outside and there's nuclear fallout coming down. and it's very clear that things are not going well. And so these people just wanted to basically do what the government is supposed to do in the aftermath of a nuclear war and try to recover, while Eckhart was 100% on board with continuing the war with China, despite the fact that neither country really existed anymore. Now, some of that you can basically potentially say is his whole... it seems entirely potentially to be the case that he believed that he was living in a simulation, and that he had information telling him that if he nuked a specific site in China, it would effectively free everybody from the simulation. We can actually go take a look at that real quick. That'll be the last thing we do here. But it's one of those things. So, again, he created the Scorched Plague, but he ended up killing an enormous number of the members of the Enclave that just wanted to actually help the country recover. The people that didn't want to do the things that he was doing, which was things like releasing all the Liberator bots in order to try to drive up the automated DEFCON system, releasing the Super Mutants in order to try to drive up the automated DEFCON system, and eventually, obviously, the Scorched Plague with the Scorched Beasts. He is responsible. Eckhart and the people that obeyed him are responsible for the most damage that occurred. Now, the Raiders are really not much better, because at the end of the day, obviously there are different levels of evil to different parts of the Raiders organization, because there were 5 different gangs within the Raiders. I mean, you've got ones that are like overtly, obviously evil, like both the Cutthroats and I would say probably the next most evil, or potentially even on par with them, are the Gourmands, the Cannibal Raiders. But really, even the best ones, the Diehards, are still not good people. It's like they'll kill you for your stuff and apologize to you while they do it. So it's one of those things where it's like, they're still going to kill you, though. So, yeah. Then they eventually became the Raiders of the Crater, so we don't really... I mean, that faction obviously is somewhat new, but also not really. The other group were the Trappers and the Blackwater Bandits. And those groups were basically kind of on par with the Diehards in terms of their level of evil. So then we've talked about the rest of the factions, except for the Mothman cults, which aren't really factions that you actually explore almost at all in the initial parts of Vanilla 76, but which, when you look at the sites that they controlled pre-Plague, it's clear that they had a presence across Appalachia as well. Specifically, the Kanawha County Cemetery, they had an altar here. They also had an altar in the church here in Helvetia. They also just generally had shrines and bonfires and other sites across Appalachia. I believe they had some down here in Big Maw. They obviously also had a presence down here in Lucky Hole Mine. But they didn't really become the force that they became until they returned to Appalachia with the rest of the Wastelanders and set up their locations like Johnson's Acre, Blake's Offering, Moth Home, Crossroads. Was that the original name of that? I thought that was named something else originally. Anyway, they also, for a time, controlled Ingram Mansion, which is now the Rose Room. They don't hold that one anymore. And they also now have Organ Cave. But, again, that was the 6th faction. Not one that was very prominent, but was still there in the background. Interesting. Anyway, though, let's look at... and I made an actual video on this, but it's been like 5 years now, so people may not have seen it. Is it in here? Is it this? Let's see. It's not any of these. I forgot that. I'd forgotten the name of Kovac Muldoon. I love that name for the orbital platform. It's just such an awesome name. Anyway, Thomas Eckhart. Yes, there we go. Okay, slaves. Secretary Eckhart, please, you need to listen to me. None of the other members will take me seriously, but I believe this is of the utmost importance. We are slaves, Mr. Secretary. I've been running some tests, and I believe I've stumbled upon what I believe to be... conclusive evidence that we are trapped, playing someone else's game. Virtual Strategic Solutions game, that is. If you don't remember Virtual Strategic Solutions, that was the group that had the simulation of Operation Anchorage and the Operation Anchorage DLC of Fallout 3. Everything around you, Mr. Secretary, is a simulation, a projection onto your brain. VSS has trapped us in here, and it is up to us to break free. The key to our escape, I believe, lies in a small town in what we perceive to be China. It's the link to VSS's external network. If we destroy it, it will shut down the simulations, and I believe finally be free. I cannot tell you exactly why we've been imprisoned. Perhaps this is a test by the upper ranks to make us earn our way into their good graces. Perhaps VSS has trapped us in here to prevent the Enclave from stopping whatever nefarious acts they're currently visiting upon the world in our absence. But we must do something, Mr. Secretary. To fail to act is to give up on the only thing that makes us men, our freedom. So, again, if you didn't watch that video, I don't believe that is actually the case. In fact, I don't know. It's been so many years, I don't remember if that was my opinion on it at the time. But I don't believe that obviously Fallout is a simulation game. In fact, I think like the first one, I can't remember, but I think they had a tagline of a post-apocalyptic simulation. But effectively, if what you're experiencing here in Fallout 76 is a simulation, then what you're experiencing in all the other games is also a simulation. Meaning that in Fallout 3, you would have been going into a simulation within a simulation. Now that's... Again, people that believe in simulation theory in the real world do also believe in the concept of, like, basically the thing that validates their theory in their mind is the idea that we create simulations ourselves, and if we create such simulations, why is it impossible to believe that we ourselves are living in a simulation that is simply so realistic because we've advanced that far in the real world? But yeah, again, I don't believe it's the case unless you go ahead and say that all the other Fallout games are also themselves simulations run by VSS. Because, at the end of the day, the Brotherhood of Steel is in every one of those games. So, either that's something that's embedded within the code, within the virtual strategic systems, different representations of the wastelands of the Fallout universe, or if you try to go ahead and say that this is a simulation, then they just did an incredible job with predicting the Brotherhood of Steel, both with the origins, with Elder Roger Maxon, and everything else there. So yeah, it's potentially the case that Eckhart believed that he was attempting to nuke China in order to free people from a simulation. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's also not even close to being beyond the realm of belief to think that he was simply trying to nuke China, especially if you look at basically the cut lore for Thomas Eckhart, which is that his father was a communist. Again, this is not canonical lore. This is lore that was cut from the game before it was released. But effectively, the cut lore is that Eckhart's father was a communist who was pursued by the government. And so he became such a rabid anti-communist to distance himself from his communist father. So... good to see you, Merlin in Alaska. I don't think I saw your name up there before, if it was. Glad you made it to the stream. But yeah, so again, in Fallout 76, easily my favorite factions are the Responders and the Free States. I kind of like lean towards the Free States simply because of the fact that they were so heavily persecuted before the war. And we'll actually do this as the last thing we do before we close things out. Because, again, they were so horribly persecuted by their neighbors before the war, and yet when they came out after the war, having been proved right, despite having been treated so shabbily, they still saved their neighbors for as long as they could. You know, there's a certain level of additional respect that they get for not just doing the right thing, but doing the right thing to people that treated them like trash. Let's go ahead and look at a terminal entry that details exactly how horribly they were treated. Just found here in Harper's Ferry, in the clinic. Close that door. Do I have... no, I'm hidden. Good. I was afraid I was going to have to get off the computer here in a second and shoot a Scorch that would have followed me in. Alright, Carson family. In commandeering this terminal, I found the following entry. As of May 23rd, the clinic no longer serves the Carson family. This includes Caleb, Elizabeth, and their children, Madeline and Max. You can refer them to Charleston or Morgantown. Got this reversed. But due to their constant involvement with the Free States, our doors are closed to them. Yeah, I mean... and if you're not aware of the story of the Carson family, it's easily the worst story of what happened within the Free States. I'm trying to... is it... yeah, there. Like, this is a terrible story here, what happened to the Carson family. But, yeah, again, their neighbors were literally treating them like traitors because they were telling them, this government is corrupt, it's not looking out for your interests, and it's going to get you killed in a nuclear hellstorm. And the people were like, no! Damn commies! And it's like, we're not communists. We just don't want to die in a nuclear war of our government's creation. So again, this is the Carson family bunker here. The Carson family having been the people we were just reading about on that terminal. And if you come in here, you can see where they all died. They all burned alive in here. So yeah, again, easily one of the darkest stories in the entirety of the Free States, what happened here to the Carson family. And, like, that's saying something, because as far as we know, everybody in the Free States is now dead. So, this is easily one of the darkest fates here. I've done all I can to help my family, to try to help my neighbors, but somehow it all went wrong. Beth, the kids, I want to yell at Maddie for leaving her toys around, to remind Max to poke holes in the Firefly jar, but they're all gone. Dead. Should I have stopped when they came to the house? Or denied Beth her medicine? Should I have listened to Raleigh to begin with? All I wanted to do was save them, and now I left with nothing. My only comfort is that I'm about to leave. That's right. Okay, sorry. I feel like I misstated this a little bit. Basically, his family was dead before the bombs. Like, before he could even make it to the bunker. This is him right here. This is Caleb. Sorry. So yeah, his family was killed off before the bombs. And he ended up killing himself here in grief. So, yeah. Lovely note to go on out there. So, let's try to cheer things up a little bit. So, again, things to look forward to. Alright, come on. This is what just jumped up on my lap here. Tuesday. That's my current goal for the Fallout 76 Mothman Cult lore video. Again, I would hope to get it done sooner, but I don't see that happening with all I've got going on both later this evening, tomorrow, Sunday. So Monday is really going to be the day where I can get that thing finished. I'm going to try to get the script done today, get the audio recording done tomorrow. Script done today or early tomorrow, get the audio recording done tomorrow evening. And then again, assemble the thing Monday, because I don't foresee myself being able to do anything on Sunday. And then with the rest of the time, other than on Christmas itself, and some time on Christmas Eve, I'm going to be spending the time working on getting that Fallout 3 Metro video done. Merry Christmas to you as well, Acorn Electron. And I apologize for those first few streams where I was calling you Acorn Electric. I'm going to get that Metro video done before the end of the year, so I can start the next year fresh with nothing but new videos. Again, if you have not voted on the poll and you have interest in what videos I cover next, I'm going to be covering Fallout 3, and I have 4 potential topics to cover, and the 2 topics that get the most votes will be the topics that I cover in the month of January. So specifically here, looking at the next lore video section on the Discord, the 4 possibilities are Canterbury Commons, the Dunwich Building, Vault 106, and Paradise Falls. Paradise Falls currently has the most votes on there, so we'll see. But again, I hope that good to see you, Hector. I hope that everybody has a good Christmas break for those of you who celebrate, and I think I'll see y'all next Friday. We'll see. If something else is going on, then I'll make sure to let you all know beforehand, but otherwise, I will see you all perhaps one more time this year. If not, then I hope you all have a good New Year, and I will see you all next time. So, have a great night, y'all.